right, page number 193 to get us started. Page 193 in Spirit and in Truth. Yeah, 193. Wonderful. All right. Follow around with the book. Page 193. Encamped along the hills of light, ye Christian soldiers rise, and press the battle ere the night shall veil their glowing skies. Against the foe in vales below, let all our strength be hurled. Faith is the victory we know, that overcomes the world. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. His banner over us is love, our sword the word of God. We tread the road the saints above, with shouts of triumph trod. By faith they like a whirlwind's breath, swept o'er every field. The faith by which they conquered death is still our shining shield. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. On every hand the foe we find, drawn up in dread array. Let tents of ease be left behind, and onward to the fray. Salvation's helmet on each head, with truth all girt about. The earth shall tremble neath our tread, and echo with our shout. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. To him that overcomes the foe, what raiment shall we give? Before the angels he shall know, his name confessed in heaven. Then onward from the hills of light, our hearts with love aflame will vanquish all the hosts of night in Jesus' conquering name. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. Amen. Brother Pete, you're on, sir.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I didn't give them my verses. I'm going to be in Romans 13. And I'm going to bring verses 1 through 7. Let every soul be subject to governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God. The authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore, you must be subject, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience' sake. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for they are God's ministers, attending continually to this very thing. Render therefore to all their due, taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. This is a strange set of verses for me to bring. See, I would be wondering, what is my point? Well, these verses are about that we're subject to governing authorities, that we follow laws. And we do it not just because we might be punished, but because we ought to have in our conscience to follow them. And I occasionally think about the laws I break. And do we break laws? I broke some laws this morning. I don't know if maybe all of you here obeyed the speed limit on the way here. I didn't. I got to these verses by Google Maps. If you're listening to it in the car, will alert you of speed traps ahead. And it always gets me, that term, speed trap, because it's not a trap. It's not tricking you, right? Like, you're not being forced to speed in any way by the trap. But everyone speeds, and everybody slows down when there's a speed trap. But does it hurt our conscience that we speed? I'll say me. I don't know. Maybe you all obey the speed limits. It doesn't always for me, but it should, I think. And so I came about another metaphor that I'm going to stretch too thin, which is, I think this is a metaphor for the sin in our lives. That, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that civil engineers, when they design roads, design to a certain comfort level for drivers, and they'll often put in an engineering tolerance on the comfort level. And so streets end up getting designed to be comfortable, to go at least the speed limit and maybe more. And so our roads are designed to be comfortable, to break the law. And that's the metaphor here. I feel our lives are designed to be comfortable to sin. And certainly if we don't adjust our lives, the world can make it seem comfortable to sin. And the world can make it comfortable to take our minds and hearts off of the Lord. So this takes me to Romans 13 and 14, a verse I think of pretty often. But put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provisions for the flesh to fulfill its lusts. It's the provisions for the flesh. It's a weird way to put it, but if that means don't make it comfortable. Don't make your flesh comfortable. Don't put yourself in a situation in the future where you could give in to the flesh and give in to sin. Just like it's comfortable for me to speed to get here in the morning, and we'll even leave late because I know I can get here by speeding. It's the same thing in our lives. We can't adjust our lives to be comfortable doing what's wrong. We need to put on Jesus. We need to look to him and what he's done for us, his nature, put on that nature in ourselves, and keep ourselves from being in a situation where we've made provision to be comfortable in sinning. It should not be. Just as the reason we keep the laws of the land is by conscience sake, not just because of the wrath that might come. We have to keep our conscience in our lives, and too easily taking our minds and our hearts off of the Lord, not putting on Jesus continually, we lose our conscience. We lose that little voice in the back of our head that tells us this is wrong. It makes us feel bad when we are comfortable doing things that we know we shouldn't. So let's keep that in mind. Keep this verse in mind. I think it's a great way to put it. Make no provisions for the flesh. No provisions for the flesh. Am I setting myself up to make a choice I shouldn't? We could set up our lives so we're not in a position to fail. And the way to do that is to put on the Lord Jesus Christ. And that's my message this afternoon. Turn it back to Brother Zach.
All right, Brother Bob's prepared a special presentation for the message this afternoon, and kind of looking at what he has prepared. I will see if the music has anything to do with it. I don't know, maybe not. But let's see here. If I can find the right song. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. There it is. All right, page number 94 to get us started. Page number 94. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Oh, that old rugged cross, so despised by the world as a wondrous attraction for me. For the dear Lamb of God left his glory above to bear it to dark Calvary. So I'll cherish the old page number 360. Page 360. Message, I do just want to apologize to the church. I think the equipment that we have back there, the more sophisticated it gets, the more complicated things seem to get. And I'm going to make it a bigger priority when we get back from Hume and stuff. I'm going to be speaking to some at Hume that work with the same equipment about simplifying some things. Because I don't want to be asking you guys and telling you guys, hey, don't send in something past a certain time or else it's not going to happen. This is back there to serve the church, not to serve me or to serve anything else. And so just pray for that we can get down to some of those things, and that way we're not late for services and presentations that many have spent a long time on. I know Sydney worked really hard on hers, and we don't have the videos for it today, but I hope that we can get the videos for it so that we can see those videos, because she worked hard on putting that presentation together. I want to see that presentation in its entirety. And right now, for whatever reason, our equipment just isn't there. That was the equipment that I led the church to get. It was the equipment I proposed. It was the equipment I said would be the best for us based on conversations that I'd had with other churches that were going down the same direction we were going. And so, nonetheless, just be in prayer about that. I apologize for things kind of going haywire and us being late today. And so I will do my best to make it so that if you have something at the last minute, I mean, you guys coming back from El Salvador, are busy. You don't have time to send me something while you're in El Salvador. You're busy serving the Lord in El Salvador. And so I want you to be willing to be able to send me something, Saturday night or Sunday morning, and I can just put it up there and boom, it's ready to go and there's no hiccups. That's how it should be. And we're just not there. And so be in prayer that in the next coming week or so, especially in conversations with Hume, I can figure out how we can get there. And so then that way we can have these presentations in their entirety, and we don't have any disappointments along the way. Also, just be in prayer for me that I can be as smart as Brother Pete. This morning we had some camera issues, and we only had, the cameras were where they were, and they weren't able to move, I guess, to put it simply. And Brother Pete figured out how to solve that. So I'm thankful that the Lord is bringing us people to work back there and are proactively working and figuring out how to solve issues, because I'm going to tell you right now, those two angles looked pretty good to me, and that's the two angles we were going to have as far as I was concerned. I wasn't going to change it for nothing. And so I am thankful for that. And Brother Bob has prepared a presentation for us, speaking of presentations, and I'm looking forward to it, as well as the message that the Lord has laid on his heart. So Brother Bob, would you come at this time and bring us what God has laid on your heart?
Oh, good afternoon.
Afternoon, brother.
I don't think I turned it on.
It's your last read.
All right. Okay. This afternoon we're going to cover the Stations of the Cross, the Via Dolorosa. Let's see.
Is your slide presentation going to go along, or are you going to be doing scriptures and slide presentation at the same time? How are you going to do that?
How am I going to do that?
Any way you like, that's all you.
Well, if you can't swap them from time to time, I'll just go ahead and read them. So you got the first slide up?
You want the slides. And the person who put the slides together is not in this room, and I don't believe you put them. You put them someplace. They're in here somewhere, but I don't know where they are. So, there's more stuff we need to work on. We had a box. I'll give you just a second, I'm gonna try to find it. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Go find it. I saw him put it there, I watched him do it. Hey, how about that?
There we go.
Sweet.
Okay, next one. All right. Oh, I forgot my pointer. I don't know.
The pointer doesn't work on it.
Doesn't work on the screen.
Yeah, okay. Well, you can see on the far right side, you have the Lions Gate or St. Stephen's Gate, and you have St. Mary's Street. And I had another map to show you first, to show you the location, but it wouldn't load under the PowerPoint, so I had to leave that one off. But as soon as you go through the Lions Gate, right to the right is St. Anne's Church, and it's built over the pools of Bethesda. Now we're going to be taking the Via Dolorosa, and this is just right, just a little farther down than the Via Dolorosa. Same street. And I don't remember what we covered on the Pool of Bethesda before, so I thought I'd kind of hit it again. Now, okay, go ahead. This is the Church of St. Anne, and I'll give you a little history of it. During the Roman period, it was a pagan shrine for the cult of the god of healing, a syncretic mix between Egyptian god Serapis and the Greek god Asclepius, stood on the grounds next to the two pools of Bethesda. Now, the Romans didn't have any trouble with multiple gods. They just had a problem with our God. A Byzantium basilica was built over the remains of the shrine in the 5th century, partially destroyed by the Persians in 614. It was subsequently destroyed. Baldwin I, the first titled crusader of King of Jerusalem, banished his wife Arda to the Benedictine convent, which is still exists here in 1104. A small crusader church, so-called Mustier, was then erected over the wall separating the north and southern pools of Bethesda among the ruins of the Byzantine church. The actual Church of St. Anne was built sometime between 1131 and 1138 during the reign of Queen Melisende. It was erected near the remains of the Byzantine basilica over the side of the grotto, believed by the Crusaders to be the childhood home of the Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus. It is dedicated to Anne and Joachim, the parents of Saint Mary, who, according to tradition, lived there. Unlike many other Crusader churches, St. Anne's was not destroyed after 1187 conquest of Jerusalem by Saladin. In 1192, Saladin converted the building into a madrasa, which is an Islamic education institute, known as Al-Madrasa As-Salihah, which refers to Saladin, and is still written in the Arabic inscription above the entrance. I wish our buildings lasted that long. In the 15th century, it was considered as the most prestigious college of the city, counting among its prominent students the Islamic jurist and city historian Midr al-Din, 1456 to 1522. And during the Muslim Ottoman rule in Palestine, Christian pilgrims were only permitted inside the grotto after paying a fee. Evidently, the madrasa was abandoned and the former church building fell into disrepair. In 1856, in gratitude for French support during the Crimea War, the Ottoman Sultan Abdul Majid I presented it to Napoleon III. So there's 4 different pieces of property that are French in Jerusalem, this being one, and one we will see later on in a couple of months. In 1862, the French government dispatched the architect Christopher Edouard Mas to Jerusalem for this purpose. In 1873, while working on the renovations, Mas discovered vestiges of the Bethesda pool next to the church. Since 1878, it has been administered by the Missionaries of Africa, a Catholic order commonly called White Fathers for their color of their robes. Between 1882 and 1946, the site was housed a seminary for training Greek Catholic priests. Quite a mixture of stuff that went on here. All right, we got 3 pictures of the pool. This being the first one, that pool, the Bethesda. You see the dark down there, that's water. And down there, you can see how green it is because there's water. All right, and then And then we have this aqueduct that's taking the water away for water supply. Now, John chapter 5, verse 15, the man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus which had made him whole. Therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. But Jesus answered them, Father, my Father worketh hitherto, and I work. Therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him, because not only had he broken the Sabbath, but he said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Then answered Jesus and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do, for what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth, and he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel. For as the Father raiseth up the dead and quickeneth them, even so the Son quickeneth whom he will. So the Father gives life, and the Son gives life. That's what quicken means. For the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honoreth not the Son honoreth not the Father which hath sent him. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on me that sent me hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and they that hear shall live. And as the Father hath life in himself, so hath he given the Son to have life in himself, and hath given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the Son of Man. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, in which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, that they that had done good unto the resurrection of life, that they had done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. So the pool of Bethesda in the Bible is where there was it was a place of healing. It was at times, probably not the winter time. I wouldn't think God would have them waiting out there in the freezing cold. Sometimes it snows in Jerusalem, but it says at certain times. Now, they probably understood that better than we do. But when the angel came and stirred the waters, the first one that got into the water got healed. And so Jesus was talking with this man that had been there for many years. He was middle-aged now, and Jesus healed him, and it was a Sabbath day, and that's what started this. But it was good teaching by Jesus about his Father, and salvation. And the Bethesda means house of kindness. So this was a kindness that God did for those who needed healing. Now this church is advertised as the church's acoustics are particularly suited to Gregorian chant, which makes it a pilgrimage site for soloists and choirs. Now, 1978, we had quite a group that went. Brother Crouch went, and Brother and Sister Pack. And Sister Pack liked to sing, and whenever we'd get into a church or a special spot that was memorable, she wanted to sing. I remember one time she sang a solo at Caesarea by the Sea, at the theater there, and we were a singing group. We had pastors and their wives, and we sang all over Israel. Every place we went, we were singing. But I remember this church. The acoustics in this church was awesome. And Sister Pack wanted to sing, so we started singing. And tour groups are coming through, and they're just stopping and listening to us. And we were just a couple of dozen people, and we sounded like thousands. I don't think there were any dry eyes. It was like being in heaven. Okay, so we got some inside pictures of the church, and you can see the ceilings, and that's probably what gives it to the acoustics. That's the altar there in front. And the sound was just amazing. So you want to build your next home like that, John? So you get those acoustics? Be good, tough on heating, though. Okay, station 1 of the cross. Pilate condemns Jesus to die. John 18:28, and they led Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment. And it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. And Pilate entered into the judgment hall again, and called Jesus, and said unto him, Art thou the King of the Jews? And I'm going to stop here, because this is what I think is the comical part. The death of Jesus is not comical. The death of anyone is not comical. But what I think is comical is here you have all these religious leaders of Israel are looking down their noses at everybody else, thinking they are better than everybody else. And then you had the Roman governor. He's looking down his nose at them, thinking at these silly Jews and their religion, how stupid they are. And so they wouldn't go in because it's Passover. They don't want to miss Passover. They thought if they went into his hall, he would be contaminated by this Gentile. Well, I'm glad that doesn't happen. Do we go into Gentile stores? Do we go into some places that might be a little shady? I mean, you go to the store and they're selling alcohol, and we don't get contaminated just going into the building. But anyhow, so they wouldn't go in, so he took Jesus inside. So now he goes back out to talk to them, and now he's got to run into Jesus. Now, where he came up with this King of the Jews, I don't know. The Bible doesn't say. But that was his question. And Jesus answered, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. but now is my kingdom not from hence. And Pilate therefore said unto him, Are you a Jew then, a king then? And Jesus answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end I was born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth hears my voice. And so he sticks his foot in his mouth, and he says, Pilate saith unto him, What's truth? So he don't know. He doesn't listen to Jesus. And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews, and saith unto them, I find no fault in him at all. But ye have a custom that I should release unto you one at the Passover. Will ye therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews? He didn't want to kill Jesus, and so he was trying not to. But he has a problem. Then cried they all again, saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Barabbas was a robber. So station 2. Jesus is scourged and accepts his cross. So then Pilate went in and took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers platted a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put on him a purple robe. And they said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again, and saith unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Well, why did you prepare him for crucifixion then? Why was he scourged? If they had any hope that Jesus was their king and he would lead them against the Romans, it was gone after being scourged. There was no way they were going to accept this bloody mess as their king. They wanted Barabbas. Let's get the Romans. Then came Jesus forth, and I don't know why Pilate did that, unless he was just trying to get some sympathy for him. But that was a bad mistake. And when the chief priests, therefore, and the officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. And Pilate saith unto him, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. Does that make sense? Okay, take him out and crucify him. I don't find any fault with him. No sense at all. But it would satisfy him. And what now the stupidity of the Jews. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die because he made himself the Son of God. Well, they just got the permission to go take him out and crucify him. They should have been happy. But perhaps in an awkward way, they're trying to get a more substantial okay on the crucifixion. They don't want to do it. They want the Romans to do it. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was more afraid. Son of God. Now you have to remember, this is Passover. Jews come from all over the world at that time. There were millions of more Jews in Jerusalem at this time. So the Romans had to bring in lots of troops. Because if the Jews were going to rebel, this would be a good time. So Pilate's worried. He can't have any problems. He's got to have things calm and peaceful. And now we got this thing with Jesus, and this thing could get out of hand quick. And he knows it has to be dealt with quick. And now he finds out he's the Son of God. And when Pilate heard that saying, he was more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and saith unto Jesus, Whence art thou? And Jesus gave him no answer. And incidentally, if you notice, he never gave answers to the Jews. Now, he was separated from the Jews when he talked with Pilate. And this time he doesn't answer. Then saith Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and I have power to release thee? Jesus answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given to thee from above. Therefore, he that delivereth me unto thee hath the greater sin. He's already judged them. The Jews have the greater sin, and Pilate has his sin. And from thence Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself king speaketh against Caesar. So now they're going to bring it up to Caesar. And he doesn't want that. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus forth, sat down in the judgment seat in the place that is called the Pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Passover, about the 6th hour, and he said unto the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Shall I crucify your king? And the chief priest answered, We have no king but Caesar. What a lie. They'd like to wring his neck. Then delivered he them, therefore, unto them to be crucified, and they took Jesus and led him away. He, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha. And when Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, this is Matthew 27:24, and I'm reading that to catch this one point. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water, washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. You see to it. So Pilate washes his hands. Now, if you had blood on your hands, you might be able to wash blood off your hands. But if you have sin, water doesn't wash away sins. Only blood washes away sin. But Pilate's a politician, as you can see how he's tried to dance through this situation. Let's look at some pictures of the Pilate's Hall. Here's a rendition of how it would have looked outside, and the Jews standing outside while Pilate was judging from outside, but then he has to run in. Let's go to the next picture. That'd be certainly a more colorful look. And then Jesus is inside. So he's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He's got all this stress on him. And I think he made a wrong decision. And then he washes his hands. Let's take a look at the next one. I don't remember what the next slide is. Okay. So this up there in the top is the Fortress Antonia. And the purpose in that was the Jews wanted to build a third wall. They were explaining to Pilate that, and the Romans, that they needed more room. They had to expand the city out, so they wanted a third wall. And the Romans are thinking revolution. So they said, okay, we'll go ahead with the third wall if we get a fort overlooking your temple so we can see what's going on. Any revolution is going to start right here. That's where the troublemakers were at. So this is Pilate probably stayed on the west side of Jerusalem at night, but he'd be there at the fort during the day. And so that's his judgment hall. That's where soldiers are stationed. What's the next slide? Okay, this is the judgment hall here. Pay particular attention to the stones.
This one has a spear.
Not. And they have. It's a big area. It's all stone. Now, supposedly underneath, the aqueduct is feeding this water cistern below the stones. The next, and here, this is a Roman game. They have a lot of downtime when nothing's going on, and they love to play games. Maybe gambling, I don't know. That's typically what soldiers do, right? Especially in the Navy. And they don't know how this game is played. Go to the next slide. Now this is a better picture one. It's not as worn, better lighting too. But this one here is from the 2nd century and was brought in here. Now, let's go to the next slide. Oh, that's the aqueduct channeling the water. Next. Okay, so now this is station 3. Simon helps carry the cross. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Cyrene, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that they might bear it, that he might bear it after Jesus. And the way it's worded, it sounds like they get out to the street and there's some problem. Jesus is not handling this. Now, Let's go to the next sign. Here's this is the way the stations of the cross are. They're marked off on the Via della Rosa. They're marked. They're all individually marked, but especially now, if you see, you got 1 and 2. So that's where Jesus was. 1 is the trial. 2 is where he's scourged. This is all in the fortress. And the lithostones, that's the carved rock. And you see how close the EC Homo arch is. From as soon as they come out on the street, they're almost there at that arch. The claim is that this is one of the arches. Well, Herod, who built these aqueducts and this underground cisterns, well, there were 3 arches that the Romans put later that was built over the top of it. Well, there's only one arch today, and that's this one. As soon as you step out onto the street, we're up the street a little bit, and you can see it's all uphill. Now, we're not told what happened. Back up a few to the map. Now, Station 3 is not till you get to the Street of the Valley. And we're only doing 8 stations of the cross. This is 14. And 3, it says Jesus falls the first time. And seven, Jesus falls the second time. And then 9 is Jesus falls the third time. Well, it doesn't mention the cross, nor does it mention him falling at all in the Bible. And also, number 6 is Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Have you ever heard of Veronica in the Bible? You know, there's a lot of traditions in here. It wasn't Baptists that did the Via della Rosa, so. So you can see, as soon as they got out to the street, the Romans realized Jesus isn't doing well. And they got somebody to carry his cross. Now go forward. No, you went forward to get to the map. You were supposed to have gone backwards for the map. Okay, now, see, it's all uphill. He's already not doing well. So they got Simon to carry the cross for him. And as they, did I read? I don't think I read that yet. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon Cyrene, coming out of the country, on him, and they laid the cross that he might bear it after Jesus. Then you have station 4. Jesus speaks to the women. Luke 23:27. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. But Jesus, turning unto them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming in which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bear, and the paps that never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For they do these things in a green tree, what shall be done in the dry? So, Jesus, knowing that there's going to be a revolt, the Romans are going to encircle Jerusalem. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. They run out of food. They're running out of water. And it was the ultimate worst thing you could think of. It got so bad that women actually ate their children. That's how bad it got. So, let's go forward with the slides. Okay, that's station 6. Was that Veronica? I forget. I'm just showing that because all the stations are marked. That's all I'm showing here. It's a nothing station. Now, we're up to station 5, which would be station 8 on the map. Or 9, actually. They're at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. That's that area there. We don't have any pictures of that this time. Church of Holy Sepulchre will be completely, thoroughly covered next time. More than you'd probably want to see. Jesus, in station 5, Jesus is stripped of his garments. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments, made 4 parts, to every soldier a part. Also his coat. Now the coat was without seam and woven from the top throughout. And they said, therefore, amongst themselves, let us not rend it, but cast lots for it. They love that gambling, I think. Whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled, which saith, they parted raiment among them, and for my gesture they did cast lots. These things, therefore, the soldiers did. And then station 6, Jesus is nailed to the cross. And they gave him to drink wine mingled with myrrh, but he received it not. And because that's a painkiller, he didn't want to take a painkiller. He is supposed to suffer. And when they had crucified him, they parted his garments, casting lots upon them what every man should take. Now this was prophesied in Psalm 22:18. They parted my garments among them and cast lots for my vestiture. Exactly what happened. And back in Mark 15, and it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him. So that was noon. 3rd hour of the day is noon. And the superscription of his accusation was written over the King of the Jews. And with him they crucified 2 thieves, one on his right hand and the other on the left. And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, he was numbered with the transgressors. This was prophesied Isaiah 53:12. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death. He was numbered with the transgressors. He bare the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. And that's what's interesting. He made transgression for those who were killing him. And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads and saying, Ah, thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days. This was fulfilled in Psalm 22:7. All they that see me laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lip. They shake the head. Back to Mark 15. Save thyself. Come down from the cross. This was prophesied in Psalm 22:8. He trusted on the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he delight in him. Back to Mark 15:31. Likewise also the chief priests, mocking, said unto themselves with the scribes, He saved others, himself he cannot save. Then Messiah, the King of Israel, descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe. And they that were crucified with him reviled him. Well, that if he'd come down from the cross, they would have been terrified. Of course, if he had come down from the cross, none of us could have been saved. Station 7, Jesus cares for his mother. John 19:25. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother and his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. And when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by whom he loved, he saith unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then saith he to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour the disciple took her unto his own home. Station 8, Jesus dies on the cross. And when the 6th hour was come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. So from 3 o'clock in the afternoon, from noon until 3 o'clock, there was darkness over the land. And at the 9th hour, at 3 o'clock, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? This was prophesied in Psalm 22:1 to the chief musician upon Igelet, Sha'ar, a psalm of David. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from me, from helping me, and from the words of my roaring? Back to Mark 15. And some of them stood by when they heard it and said, Behold, he calleth Elias. Well, his mouth is so dry. He's been up at least 30 hours. He hasn't drank anything. He hasn't eaten anything. He's been beaten. His back is shredded. He's lost a lot of blood. That's why he was weak and couldn't carry his cross. And so his mouth is just as dry as can be. And so they're not understanding his speech. And one ran and filled a sponge full of vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink, saying, Let alone, let us see if Elias will come and take him down. This was prophesied in Psalm 69:21. They gave me gall for my meat, and in my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. Back to Mark 15. And Jesus cried with a loud voice and gave up the ghost. And the veil of the temple was rent in twain from top to bottom. And when the centurion When the centurion which stood over against him saw that he so cried out and gave up the ghost, he said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." So that is what I have for us today. I don't know if we need an invitation or not, but it's incomprehensible what Jesus went through in dying for my sins. And I will be eternally grateful.
So today's Mission Sunday, so we have a presentation in the New Mexico trip. And so Gene asked for a few minutes first to present the history of Gene, I think is what he wanted to present. So, no? Okay. So come on up, Gene.
I'm able to put in handrails yet. When you're a kid, you're laughing at people for not standing up and then going down the stairs straight. When you get my age, it's scary. I continue to ask your prayers for the country of Mexico. I can't cover everything from Tijuana to Cancun. But continue to pray for the country of Mexico. Just a few highlights I want to share. For many years, this church has sponsored the work in Campeche. It was organized in 2011. Brother Woolley and I were present for that. You've seen the pictures from that. And they continue working. It's not been an overflowing crowd, but they continue to be faithful there. And I'm going to try to get Brother Chan to see some pictures. But Brother Chan's little boy that Brother Woolley remembers trying to play kid guitar, he's now in college, Brother Manuel. He made a precious faith, been baptized. And so those of you who have kids or grandkids, some of us do that, we want them to get an education so they can have a job and support the work. And so Brother Manuel, because of the system in Mexico and many parts of the world, the best universities, a lot of times they call it down there pulling the lever, having pull. And so a lot of times the universities that are most recognized and easily accessible means that you have connections and you have money. And so the rest of them are left to scramble to try to go to a private university and do the best they can. So pray for him. He was trying to get into a certain level of medicine, but what they can afford right now is that he's studying to be a physical therapist, which is still going to give him decent pay. And so we've been trying to help him a little bit with encouraging him in his education along that line. The next boy down is in high school, and their little girl is in elementary school. So pray for the Chan family. I'm not asking for any funding, but just remember, along with many other people in Mexico, how they are trying to serve the Lord, at the same time take care of their family. Both brother and sister Chan are working jobs that don't pay very much, but they are doing their best to see their family and be faithful in the work. And I wanted you to think about that as you remember that some of you were there back in 07, and they were those little kids, and now the mom and dad are the same height, the kids are really growing up. And then a good couple, three things. And my primary focus is not to leave out anybody in Mexico, but my primary focus is helping the Mount Zion Church with Brother Julio Rodriguez Sr., the Alpha and Omega Mission with Julio Rodriguez Jr., and another brother, Oscar Flores, down in the ranch country. They haven't had usable rain for 2 years in that part of Mexico. And most of the times their support is coming from families that live in the States to send them enough money to just about eat on, but the people still need church services. And so he's trying to drive and keep on a 40, 50-year-old bus now. And his vans that I had sold him or gave away, they're about to wear out. So pray again for him and transportation needs. And then focusing on the Alpha and Omega mission at the bulletin board that you're giving me to use, the very top two pictures show an advancement in the residence of that building. Now, we have a nice auditorium here, but you can get out your measuring tape. But that building inside, both floors measure 25 feet wide, wall to wall inside, and 51 feet from the back door to the front. And that's the size of that building. Not overly large, but it is 2 stories. So on the upper level, what I was trying to do over the years was to use portable partitions so that we could have that whole area, fellowship hall for activities and such. But they overvoted my ideas because they said the termites eat the wood and the sheetrock. And so they put in some walls that are concrete block and easier to use. Now, many of you live in different size houses. Like my travel trailer is an 8 by 27 and a 25 and a half, but that's really only 3 feet from the tongue. But a lot of us go camping, living in a tent. Maybe you turned out in a first stage apartment as an economy apartment. Well, upstairs there, we basically have built a rooms that will be 20 by 20. And that gives you 2 10-foot rooms that can be used as classrooms. And at this point, it's going to be the bedrooms. They've got only 3 kids so far. So that means there's going to be 2 bedrooms for a family of 5. And then the area that's 10 by 20 is going to be combined with the kitchen and a dining area and the living room. And then next to that is slotted in a bathroom area with a shower and a toilet. And so the other, Julio sent me a picture that's in my phone, which I haven't got on the camera yet, but in my phone to where they finished the sheetrock, finished the painting, finished the floors, and they very soon will be moving in. Now, that's because of the place they were using before. The interest rates got adjusted. They can't afford to live there, so this is a temporary stage for them to use, but before the end of this year, they will be using it as their residence. And with some extra funding that was a resource for him, he was able to buy a piece of property. I mentioned the size before, but I got readjusted. And so the best numbers I can use right now, it's a few inches short of 30 feet deep and 60 feet wide. That's the street frontage. Room enough to build a house, have a place to park, and they will develop that property as they have funding. That's the good news on the physical side. But on the spiritual side, they did have a vacation Bible school that about 125 in attendance. A lot of those kids may only come during these special events. But with the help of the other churches, it was a good event. And that's the way we catch them, one at a time, a little at a time. But it's building the work. And so the next thing is to pray for funding so they can have a Christmas program and give a few toys, miniature cars and things like that. So they're continuing to work. I was there in the end of July, and there's a possibility if we get down there at Christmas time, might get across and might not, because Christmas time, the lines are 4 hours. I'm not sure if I want to try that. But I just ask you to continue to pray for that. As soon as I get some decent pictures that I can learn how to print and all, they'll put up on the bulletin board. I'll try to put them on a usable PowerPoint, and we'll see them on a Mission Sunday once or two in the months in the future. So thank you for listening to me today. Pray for Mexico as well as the rest of the world. But the brethren are very appreciative of your attention to missions around the world. Thank you. This time.
Just don't fall on me. Okay, so it is 10 after 3. We'll definitely forego the committees, but so the presentation for New Mexico, I don't know how long it'll go, 20, 30 minutes. Would you like to forego that and we do it a different time, or would you like to present it now?
No, let's go ahead.
Yeah, Zach?
My only recommendation to doing it another time is so then that way I can get the videos uploaded along with it, so it's a full presentation. Right now, we don't have the videos for it. And so if they want to do it right now, they're excited, they want to share it by all means. But if we wait, then I can at least have the videos uploaded so we can show the whole thing.
Right. And the videos are just are a part of it,
Yeah,
but
let's hear it. We'll leave it up to you.
pointing at, Pam?
But the children will present it this time.
Yeah, are the kids ready? Are you guys ready to present? All right, let's do it now. Come on, girls. Where's Jess?
The videos consisted of like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It was fine.
Can you just reenact them?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, one part we can.
One of them.
One of the videos we can, yeah.
It was a fast forward, so that
Then do it really fast.
Come on, Amelia.
We'll take any reenactments you wish to partake in. Sure.
The one we can.
one of them was a photo, and then the other one
The other one you can reenact.
can't.
Oh, you can read sound.
Reenact the car.
What? Okay, you guys. Anyway, so we went to New Mexico a couple months ago now, and the idea was a sports camp. It's a sports camp, and we did basketball. We've been working with Brother Kevin and Rachel for a while now, putting this together. And the sports camp idea is something I would like to maybe incorporate on a larger scale. One of the gentlemen that went with us, Scott, he was a college basketball coach, because we don't know nothing about basketball. And so he was a blessing to the team, and we've talked to him on numerous occasions, and he's interested in working with us on putting these camps together. And so we'll see where it goes. So this was our first try. We got 2 out of the 3 days because we got COVID on day 3, and so we had to stop early. But anyway, the girls are going to present kind of what's going on. We got the slideshow, and they're going to give you tell you what happened, and then if you have questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, let's get started. So, our theme for this little event was Strong of Heart, and this trip was back in July. So it's been a bit since it happened, but yeah. Could we go on to the next slide? This is us. Does anyone want to? Okay, so this is when we first landed. Don't know how to say the name, but Albuquerque. What? So, yeah, we spent most of our day there because we had problems getting our car. So we spent like
Yeah, we went to like 8 o'clock trying to get the car.
yes, we were there till
and then
very late
What
when
time did we get to the place? Was it like
we got there.
We went to bed at like 1 a.m.
Yes,
Yeah.
about midnight. We got to the place we were staying about midnight. The
Because we got there, then we spent a while at the car place, and then we had to drive
to Walmart.
to Walmart, which also took a while, and then we had to drive to the place, and then we didn't actually get to bed because there was a Navajo guy who had to talk to Brother Rachel for a while, so then we didn't actually get to bed till like 12. And we had to set up all the air mattresses and
Mattresses
everything.
but we can go on to the next slide. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so it's the guy in the red shirt, that's Scott, and then my mom, and then Uncle Gary, and then a guy in the back, that is Austin, and I don't know what Katie is.
Katie's not in this photo apparently.
Where is he?
Was she getting, she was getting seconds, maybe? Or thirds, we don't know which one. One of those.
But breakfast was provided. Why am I blanking on her name?
Bobby.
Sister Bobby provided
And
breakfast
she
for
didn't
us.
like pictures, so we only have one picture of her in this entire
No
presentation.
photo thing. But that Sunday we just spent our day.
That's what the
We
next
went.
slide.
Oh,
So
never
we-
mind. I'm going too fast. Next slide, please.
This was church. Basically, it was just us till like the last half hour-ish. And then there were 2 visitors. Oh, and
you wanna
Katie,
talk about
you
what you
went-
did with Miss Robbie? Because we weren't in there. You're the only one that did it. Talk loud so we can hear you. In Mrs. Bobby's class, we did
Yeah, they did that while, like, if we were to compare that to our church services, she would have been in class while we were in Brother John's class. And then we all came back together for the sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, Kevin's had a real hard time going on the Navajo Nation because they don't trust any outsiders. And so it's been a real struggle. It took him a couple of years to build the church up to about 6 or 7 people. And when COVID hit, it wiped them out. They pretty much shut down the Navajo Nation. They didn't go anywhere, do anything. They lost a third of their people to COVID. So it hit them hard. So Kevin said that they don't trust going out at all. And so we were the church that day, except towards the end, 2 people showed up. One has come before, but one was the new person that had come. So I tell you, after we left, they had 6 at next service. So that's kind of encouraging.
And then after services, we went to drive around to see if any of the kids were out to give them a flyer. But actually, most of them were sleeping because apparently they sleep in the hottest part of the day so that they're not like out and about. And then most of the houses we drove by actually had tires on their roofs because they have really bad like wind and stuff. So they're actually, I didn't put it in here, but there was a picture of a house that had like pieces of tile missing because they didn't have tires on their roof.
Yeah. Next slide.
Okay, so this was something that I found ironic because we were about to assemble the hoops and it says it assembles in less than 3 hours. So, I mean, it did happen. And on the next slide, there was supposed to be a video of us, time lapse of us putting it together, but it only actually got halfway through because I think her phone got too hot, so it turned off.
Because it took 3 hours.
Yeah, it took 3 hours. And we were assembling both of them, and apparently the group that Amelia was doing, they put the backboard on and they forgot the washer, so they had to take the whole thing off. To get it back on again.
Yeah. So the groups were me, Scott, and Austin, and then you, Uncle Gary, and Mom. Yeah.
The groups were uneven from the get-go. Probably not the best choice, but we were able to get them. We were like jokingly racing, but we were able to get them finished and set up. And I think that night, though, they both.
That's on the next slide.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Slides. Okay.
Okay.
I was gonna say
They blew
that.
over.
Oh yeah, because there was like a lightning storm, wasn't there?
It's okay. But the night after we were able to finish up setting up the basketball hoops, we invited some of the kids to come and do like a night before, get to know them before we started the actual event. And we had dinner and we got to meet a bunch of the kids and play a couple games. If anyone wants to explain the game we played.
We played Ships and Shores, which we played at VBS. We didn't do the dead fish thing though because
The card was hard. It was
hard.
Really hard.
Do you want to explain what Ships and Shores really goes?
So basically, Ships and Shores is each side of the room. One side is ships, the other side is shores, and then there's a person calling out each side. And then if they say like Titanic, somebody would grab the back of someone else's shirt and then go like this. And if they said rowboat, 2 people would sit down.
Well,
like,
they'd say like 2-person rowboat or like 3-person rowboat.
and then you'd sit down and you'd pretend to be rowing a boat. And then the other one was lighthouse, where 2 people would go like this, and somebody would spin in the middle.
That's a So beauty is the light, right?
Yep.
You're now the light.
We can do the next one.
Next slide.
That was dinner.
For dinner we had.
Natural habitat.
Yeah. We had hot dogs for dinner, but my grandpa got chicken instead because he's friends with Brother Rachel. And after we finished eating and playing the games, we went outside and we were just shooting some baskets, playing a couple, just like we let the kids go at it. We didn't really have a set plan, but we got to test run the hoops and they worked quite well till that night when one of them fell over, and then we had to lower the other one so they didn't break.
Yeah, because there was like a thunderstorm
Very
or something,
windy.
and it was windy, and there was like thunder and lightning and stuff, and the thing fell over. So, like Scott and Katie and Austin like ran out there to like put the other one down to make sure everything was okay.
Next slide.
So basically, I put that it says Monday is day one, but I didn't actually label any of the other slides because we did the same thing every day.
Pretty much. So, what we did every day, our schedule. So, 9 a.m., the people would come, and then we'd sign them in and give them a name tag and send them over to where we had a little game going till everyone got there.
Oh, and on the days after day one, on day one, everybody kept drinking like half a bottle of water and then getting a new one, because then everybody would lose their bottles of water. So on the second day, I would write extra name tags to put on the bottles of water so that they didn't lose them, which was actually kind of funny because they actually drank more water that day.
And then, I don't like being that close to the mic. At 9:15, we'd have a little warm-up, which would be our introduction for like the daily theme, because we'd have our main theme being strong of heart, and then we'd have shorter themes. We had be prepared, honorable/willing, and then
What was the last day supposed to be?
Be forgiving and be grateful.
yes, be forgiving and be grateful was supposed to be our last day. And then after we'd introduce the theme, we'd have our memory verse and then our songs. And then after that, we'd have our different skill sessions, and then a team time where we'd tell a little story and have a little break in between sessions. And then we'd have our halftime, which was a sports story and songs. Then we'd have lunch, our Bible story after, and then we'd have just a little time for them to do a game. Then we'd go over things one more time, and then everyone would go home. And that was just our daily schedule.
It was like 5 hours. Yeah.
It was 9 to 2 every day, and then they'd go home, and then we'd hang out and set up for the next day. And then we can go on to the next slide.
Yeah.
The songs. So, I was in charge of the songs. I was leading them out with Austin. He would play guitar, and then every day, one of the girls would help me with motions and leading everyone out. And I think our first day was you.
No.
First day was
not.
Amelia.
I held the song.
I don't think it was me the first day.
One of them helped me the first day. I don't remember who. It was a while ago. But then we'd sing, our main song was Only a Boy Named David, and the kids really liked that song, and by the end they were all doing the motions and singing really loud. And we also did Peace Like a River and I Am a Promise. Yeah, and next slide. Skill groups.
Okay, so the three groups we had were ball handling, passing, and shooting. Scott had the ball handling group, my mom had passing, and Uncle Gary had shooting. What we did is Scott, Katie, Amelia, Jessica, and I, we all, there were pairs of 2 of us, and we'd all rotate.
It's Austin, not Scott.
Sorry, Austin, that's what I meant. We rotated between the 3 with the kids, kind of, after every day. But we didn't actually get to all the groups because, again, we got COVID.
We went home early.
Okay, so the next slide was supposed to be a video of what Scott did in his group. You want to do it with me? Sure. So basically what he would have us do is take the ball and go back and forth. And then he'd blow the whistle and we'd go around our head.
I didn't do this one. I don't know what.
And then we'd go around their waist.
I did it.
You have a broken finger.
Around their waist, and then we go around. And then we go around the other leg. and then we go around mostly.
What are you doing? I didn't take
That's what the video was supposed to be, but again, the videos didn't work.
Put that didn't really work.
But
Didn't
that's
work
just
out.
what we did in the ball handling.
Oh yeah, you were
And then we also had our shooting, which we can't really show what we did in those groups because like we don't have somewhere to shoot, and that would most likely end up with us breaking something. But in passing, we also just did basic passing drills, and it was fun. I think the kids really enjoyed themselves. We enjoyed ourselves. It was great. Next slide. Thank you.
So Scott that was the, what was it, sports story?
Yes.
Sports story. So Scott would bring a sports story every day on an actual person and how their story related to the theme of the day. And there was also a lesson time or an object. You did the object lesson, which we helped with every day. And then there was the Bible story, which differed each day. Usually we did it out where we did everything else, but that day Uncle Gary did it inside because it was really hot. Is that why we did it?
We also had to keep the kids a little more focused and not messing with the dirt.
Because that was very popular. The kids liked messing with dirt. Next slide. So at lunchtime, these two boys right here, they wanted to see if I could balance all of this stuff in a stack, and I did, but then I fell over. There was also this other game that they would have us, that they played, and basically you'd have some object that they would take turns. Here, wait. Let me show you. So, we have a pen. So basically you go like this.
I didn't understand this thing.
Okay, so. And
then if you slap the table, then you're out.
you are. So go back and forth, hitting the object. You can grab it whenever you want, and then if the other person hits the table after you grabbed it, you're out. So it's just a fun one. It was easy, and we played with the.
Test your reflex, Gary.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why they play. Yeah.
Next slide.
Maybe we get Gene to play.
And then-
Yeah.
And then we taught them how to play chopsticks, which then became a favorite because literally everyone played chopsticks at lunchtime, after the lesson, during the extra time. It was wild. After we taught them, like everybody knew how to play and everybody did it all the time.
This one they cheated on.
Yeah. This one was apparently some of the people we brought didn't know how to play either. So we explained to a ton of different people. Some people didn't get it. My grandpa didn't really get it, but most of the kids did.
Okay.
I wish I could do it.
They're doing a little demonstration.
Do it.
But while they're doing a demonstration, I'm gonna talk about one of the things that happened. So during the lunch hour, it was all of us, all the kids, and the older kids that were helping, that worked there at the, don't know what it's called, but like in the chapter house. They were also there, and they'd have lunch with us too. So
Right. It was a summer work program.
summer work program. So there was a couple girls that I was able to sit in with a conversation they were having with Grandpa and Sarah about their culture, which was really interesting, and I got to learn quite a bit, even though I came into the conversation kind of halfway through. But it was quite interesting learning about it, and it was like you got to see a whole different side of things. So it was really cool. Do you guys have anything you want to add about that conversation?
It just, the Navajo culture, it revolves around spirits. And so one of the songs we had originally picked to sing was Sweet, Sweet Spirit, but that song doesn't work. You gotta be real careful. So we pulled that out. But it was just real interesting. Their houses, all the houses have a, do you remember what it's called?
I think
They have-
there's a picture of one of them.
Yeah, probably. They have a secondary house in the backyard, and you have to enter that house. And when you enter that house, you have to go to the left. Any other way will displease the spirits. And there's certain things you need to do inside the house, and then when you exit the house, you have to go all the way around the house and exit from the left.
And by house, it's very small.
Yeah, the house is it's like a, oh, what's the word, Mongolian,
Gird.
yeah, like a girdle. And it's not very big at all. And it has a fireplace in the middle, right? Kind of like a small sweat house is the way I thought. But it's very traditional there, it's still very much used. So it's just listening to the girls talk. They have like a quinceañera, only it's a spiritual one. And it's different. And the one girl missed hers, and she was very sad that she missed it because it was weird. I don't remember the whole thing, but on that day, the girl did all the work. She had to wash the dishes and cook the meal. It was her quinceañera, whatever they called it, but she had to do all the work for that day. It was to prepare her for life after them. And so it was a little difficult talking to them about the Holy Spirit, about God, and because it was just another spirit for them. So it was really fascinating. I wish we'd had more time there to continue to learn that and to be able to speak to them in regards to that way.
Oh. So then we went to Four Corners. Miss Bobby came with us, but she didn't like pictures, so she took the picture of us. And there was another sign that said on it, like on the way in, it said you can't sprinkle ashes because it's considered a malicious belief to the Navajo people. You didn't see it? There were like 2 or 3 of them. And that's basically the only place that we got souvenirs because we didn't really go anywhere else. Four Corners is basically where 4 states meet. It was Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, I think. Yep. Yeah. And then the next one. Okay, so we were gonna drive back, and there's this huge car pileup that covered both lanes. So we decided to go the one way back, which actually ended up getting us to bed really late that night too, because we were in Arizona, driving most of the way, and then we were in New Mexico, and we stopped for dinner, and
It was a long trip.
it was an adventure.
We took the wrong road, didn't we? Or something?
Here's the picture, the little house right there, the little tiny circle thing.
Very
That's
hard
what
to
he was
see.
talking about.
Yeah, it's the tan thing.
But this is just some of the scenery we saw on that drive. Yeah, I think there's more photos later, but this is just a couple of them. Slide, move, next, what? Yeah.
And on one of the days, we walked to this little drugstore so we could get some ice cream because he had a craving for ice cream.
Yeah, it was just a little convenience store type thing, and it was super close to the chapter house.
We also brought some back for Scott, who was sick.
And we also took a photo in front of the chapter house sign, because there's multiple of those, right? There's multiple different chapter house, and we were at the two-hall, that chapter house. So we just got a cute little sign in front of there. Next slide.
The chapters, basically the Navajo Nation is huge, and it's broken into different sections, and so they're different chapters. So each one has a chapter house, each one has a small government within their chapter, then there's also an overarching government over the entire thing.
Okay, so this is where we were staying, and this is just some photos of us hanging out. We got Austin and Katie reading the newspaper, and then me, Sydney, and Amelia just hanging out. Eating, yes.
That was fun.
Yeah. Next slide.
So the picture on the left is where the girls slept, and the picture on the right is where the guys slept. So basically when you went into this little building next to the chapter where But then when you went in, there were 2 bathrooms on this side. There was a little one, no, there was a bigger one, and then there were 2 couches right there, and they inflated 2 air mattresses. So Austin slept on the big couch, and the other 2 slept on the air mattresses. And then there was a really big room that we slept in on part of it. And there was a little storage room in the back. And one night I heard a cricket, but it was probably the loudest cricket I've ever heard in my life. So I was trying to fall back asleep. And then I finally go over to my mom and I was like, can you get that to stop? So she goes over there and then all of a sudden it stops. And it didn't go on for the rest of the night. So it probably ran away, which I don't really care where it was. I was just very thankful that it stopped because I couldn't sleep.
Next slide. So this is one of the groups, the one with me in it is the ball handling group. And the little girl in the photo is Paige, and she ended up coming halfway through like the second day. Her grandmother brought her, and so she was able to participate in a couple of the activities, and I think we gave her lunch before she left. She ended up leaving early, but she was super sweet and did a really great job with the different activities. Anyone else have anything to add? I don't think that would be a good idea in here.
It's loud.
It's very loud. We can go on to the next slide.
So this is the only picture we have of Miss Bobby.
And yes.
Okay, so the other picture where it's like the sky. So, on like the day that we had to like stay at the hotel, we went on like this ride where it was like a
sky tram.
Yeah, like a sky tram. It took us up to this mountain kind of thing, and there were like lots of different trails. So we were walking on one of them, and then as we were waiting for the tram to like come back to get us, there was like this like thunderstorm that started. So as you see, there's like a little flash. That was like the thunder. And as we were going down, there were lots of like booms and and lightning flashes, and it was so windy that the tram thing was rocking side to side. So as we were going in, they were trying to get it to like stop rocking, but they couldn't get it all the way. So as we went in, it bumped the side, so there was like this loud little scraping noise, but nothing happened. It just kind of just bumped the edge because it was swaying side to side.
And as soon as we got in the car, it started sprinkling. And as we started driving, it started raining harder.
Next slide. What? Nothing. Okay.
So the middle picture, when we were driving to the hotel, we stopped at this trail thing and we went up this plateau. But Scott was like really sick, so we didn't go the whole way. And we turned around and went back down after a little while, and that is a picture of the sky tram, like
Yeah, go.
Okay, so the picture of like the bread stuff, I can't remember what it was called. Fry bread. So they put like cinnamon and sugar on it. It was so good. It was really filling, and I'm sure we all wanted to eat forever, but it was like we couldn't eat like more than like just one piece. It was really good. Yeah. Miss Bobby made it, so that was a cool little treat from them before we had to leave, so that was a blessing.
Next slide. Here's some more of the scenery from either when we were driving to the hotel or driving in Arizona. I'm pretty sure it was when we were taking the really long detour, but it was really pretty, so that was nice, but it was like a 4 or 5 hour drive. But yeah, this is just some of the scenery we got while driving around. Next slide. That was so loud. And this is just our group. And we,
Crazy.
yes, with the cooling towels that we got because it was incredibly hot.
Good.
Is that everyone?
No, my mom's here.
Sarah's taking the photo, but we were all just messing around and talking.
That was when
I
you
think
gave your
that was after I gave mine, before or after I gave my devotional. Don't know which. But yeah. Anyone else have anything to add? Okay, then that's it. Okay, and I think we have a couple more things to add on top of that, but our slideshow's done.
All right, our verse for the week was Psalm 31:24. Be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who wait for the Lord. One thing I appreciated about what we did is we tried to tie everything back to that theme. So Gary would do the introducing the theme and the memory verse and the songs. Then we would go play some basketball. Then while we were giving them some water, giving them a snack, we would basically take the skills that we were doing and apply them back to the theme. I think I ended up doing that the 2 different days. And then, like the girls told you, the schedule and stuff. One thing I'll say about the Rachels and being there, I appreciated Brother Rachel ahead of time when he asked for the group to come. He explained to us that he wasn't looking for a, hey, come and do a repeat after me, Jesus prayer to be saved type thing. That wasn't what he was looking for. He was looking for a group to come and basically lead the life of a Christian, to show the example to these people. And I just really appreciated his forthcomingness with that, and him realizing like the importance of these people seeing Jesus through us, not us just coming in real quick telling them, hey, be saved, repeat after me, and then leave. He understands the importance of the time that it takes with that culture there. It's a different culture, and even he said he's been there 5 years, I think, and he doesn't even know all the different cultural things there, but they're willing to tell you if you ask and stuff. But it really meant a lot to me that he's interested in starting something that continues, not just a one-time thing. Hey, we came once, that's cool, but having this every year, that the kids and the people can look forward to this each year. And it was just neat to me that he's that invested in the people and in the work there. He said a lot of the family life is not super great for the kids. A lot of them are being raised by their grandparents because the parents have kind of checked out. They don't work, they don't have jobs, that kind of thing. So giving something for the kids to do is really helpful. They mentioned that it was a summer work program, so the teenagers were there, and it was really cool because the chapter house is very supportive of Brother Kevin, because Brother Kevin brings things that help the people. So like an event like this, doing a sports camp, it helps the people, and so the chapter house is more than willing to allow him to do this stuff. He lives on the chapter house's property there. They let us use the wellness center building. They let him have church there. So it was neat that they are so accepting of that, because they realize like he's bringing good to the people and helping them there. I lost my train of thought.
Happens to everybody.
Did you want to say your thing now? Anyways, I just thought that was neat. The people from the chapter house, the one gentleman, he would come over and he would talk to us and stuff. And the young people that were working there for the summer work program, they do that to give the kids, they work for 2 weeks and they pay the kids to be able to do that, and the kids have to do whatever they're asked to do, whether it's, cleaning the buildings, or they were remodeling the bathrooms in the chapter house. They have to work on that. But for the time we were there, Kevin was the guy's name, oddly enough, so had the kids help us. And that was what they had to do to get paid. And he told us, like, if they're not helping, you come tell me, because that's what they're supposed to be doing. So they were out there with us. We divided them up on each of our teams, so they would help. They would play the games with us. And I thought it was neat, because then they actually got to be there when we told the Bible story and stuff. So not only was it for just the kids that we thought we were going for, but for the older teenagers to be there. And they were just as excited to come back for the tournament and stuff. I thought that was neat how Brother Kevin has really worked with the people there, and they have good relations and good arrangement, and it's not, well, we don't believe what you believe, so we're gonna, do our own thing. He's really worked with them, and I thought that was very encouraging. I'm done. Okay, I'm here.
Okay, so I really enjoyed this mission trip, and it changed my life. I got to experience something I never thought I would be able to experience. I loved it, and I really wished it could go on forever, and I really can't wait to go on another one. And I was really, really scared, but once we got there and we settled in and we started getting to know the kids and how they lived and stuff, it was really cool, and it turned out fine. And I hope others will, from this presentation, will be encouraged to go on them like I did, even though I was very scared to. It was a lot more fun than I thought it would be, so.
It's a culture I didn't know existed, to be honest with you. Kevin said it's pretty harsh conditions there. Kevin said, I think the unemployment rate's 78%, so it's huge unemployment rate. The chapter itself has a lot of money. They get a good influx of money, I'm guessing, from the government, and they had more money than they know what to do with, so they try to help the kids, and they do appreciate Kevin coming and doing that. They really do. He was showing us a piece of land they would like him to build a church on. There's an abandoned Mormon church there that they want to give him, and he said, no, I don't want that, and I appreciate that. But right across the way, there's a piece of land that they want to give him and let him build a church on, so I hope he does. So, any questions?
There's a lot of restrictions, though, on building and stuff, and you have to pay the lease, and that's the thing with the Mormon church. It's abandoned, but they paid the lease on it, so nothing can be done with that. Even though the land is owned by the Navajo Nation, because the Mormons paid the lease on the building.
That's right.
They're not allowed, they're not able to use it.
Yeah, if you understand the 99-year leases, that's what they do there. You don't necessarily own it, but you can lease it for 99 years. And so the Mormons, even though they abandon it, they re-up their lease. So nobody can touch it, per se. So.
I'll say one other thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, too. Brother Kevin has gotten to know the people and the kids. So he would leave an hour before it started to go pick up children to come and be at the camp. So he has built a relationship with the people there that they allow him to come. And so he's willing to drive up the mountain, and stuff to go get the kids. And I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, he's developed. I mean, it's not a densely populated area by any stretch. There's a little few houses here. There's a little few houses here, over there, up the hill. So Kevin has to go get them to do that. And it's poverty's pretty large there. And so we're going back next year in June if you'd like to go. June to week of June 12th, I think it is. And it'll be warm. Just so you know. It's not supposed to be as warm as in July. I hope not. Any questions? All right. Any announcements? Thank you, girls. You did a great job. And they worked really hard. They worked in the heat, and they did a good job. You ought to appreciate these girls right here, because they did what we asked them to do. They didn't question it or whine too much, and that's okay, though, because it was hot. And they hung in there, and they did what we did. So, any announcements?
The Harvest Festival is next Saturday, so Wednesday night we'll need some help to set up. And then also I forgot to put on the game sign-up thing that we need to do to monitor the inflatable outside for the amount of children that go through it and the rowdiness with which they do so. So if you're feeling so inclined for part of the evening to do that, please let me know or write it back here. Also, there is a lot of slots open for people to run the games, so we want to put the sign out and people are inviting friends and stuff, but it's going to be hard to make it successful if we don't have enough people helping that evening. So if you're able to, please sign up on there. And then I also forgot to tell people to bring baked goods. We're not going to do a cakewalk, but we're going to do little challenges, and then the winner can pick a baked good. So, small cakes, a little pack of 4 cupcakes, a little plate of cookies, brownies, just different things like that. If you could bring those the night of, we'll use those as prizes for the little games we play. And then also don't forget to bring candy.
Okay. So a lot of spaces there. Sign up and run a SWAT. It's a lot of fun. It's an hour of your life. Yes, Matt?
If you do sign up to run the bounce house, you will have an official title. It will be the bounce house bouncer. That is its own sign-up sheet back here.
So if you're into titles, it's a cool title.
Very good. You can be a bouncer.
I had a bouncer at the pharmacy this last week. It was cool. So.
Yeah, we had a bounce. His name was Mike. Just real quickly, just a few seconds on that. His name was Mike, and he's a big guy. Big muscular guy. Found out he's little Mike. So they have some big people in their church. But we did, on one quick note, we had 33 professions of faith last week. So that was very much a blessing. And we'll present that next month, that trip. All right, any other announcements? Yes, Sarah.
Just please remember my grandparents and mom and stuff. Our plan is to go on Tuesday to bring my mom and grandma back here.
Okay.
Prayers for that.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, let's stand. Thank you for allowing us the time. I know it's a little late. Appreciate it. All right, any prayer requests, anything else before we dismiss? Brother John, would you dismiss us, please?
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks, Lord, for this wonderful day. Thank you, Father, for the energy and the manner in which the youth presented this trip to New Mexico. We thank you, Father, for being with them and giving them this experience. We ask, Father, that you continue to bless this church, that we would continue to promote those trips, and bless Brother Gary and Sarah and those who go. Father, be with the Rachel family and help Kevin and Bobby as they labor in the field of Navajo. And we ask, Father, that you would be with us as we continue on this week with safety, bring us back together again. We might worship your holy name. In Jesus' name we ask these blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.